Hi. So hope everybody had a good weekend, and definitely summer's slipping away for sure. So good news for all you skiers, right? I'm a reformed skier, so it doesn't have the same impact on me anymore. So today we're going to talk about creating our long-term vision, and a little bit of a kind of a dovetail into what we talked about last week in our priorities. And got some feedback from everybody about kind of expanding that priorities into vision. So that's the genesis of this, and so we'll be weaving in a little bit about what we talked about last week as well. So when we talk about our setting our personal visions, okay, and of course, it could be for anything. It could be for work or personal or family or health or whatever. Like we talked about last week in priorities, right? Because when we talked about priorities last week, we talked about them in terms of setting your long-term vision and how your priorities really backfill into the vision. But our visions, right, our ability to see our purpose, our dreams, our desires, and where we're going to be tomorrow, and those are all really so uniquely personal that somebody like me or a mentor or a friend or somebody like that, they can help you with that, but these are your goals, your visions, right? I mean, they're so highly personal, and it's really about where you want to be. So this conversation really is about the container that you set, okay, for making your visions, whatever you choose them to be, and some things to pay attention to and things to be kind of aware of. And so that's what we're going to talk about this morning. So typically, we would talk about, recommended works, either, books, podcasts, movies at the end of our time together. But this morning I'm going to start actually with this. So, this is Ronna Byrne, who wrote The Secret. God, it seems like forever ago now. And of course, at the time and even today, it's a very popular work. And it was really kind of a breakthrough work for law of attraction thinking, or abundance versus scarcity thinking. And there was a whole bunch of works back then that came out. There was prior to that, there was The Alchemist, The Celestine Prophecy. There was a whole bunch of them, but this really went mainstream. What the Bleep Do We Know is another one. I can send you the list. There's a whole bunch of them about law of attraction, creating abundance. But this really was the one that went mainstream and really impacted a lot of people about how to create the thinking that will allow you to achieve your goals and visions. And one of the things I'm going to recommend is, certainly the book is good. As a matter of fact, I used to buy cases of the book and I would hand it out to people. But I'm going to recommend you watch the documentary The Secret, before you go into goal and vision setting, before you do it. And it's about an hour and a half, goes very quick. A lot of the people, it was a 2006 movie, kind of hard to believe, the documentary. There is a movie called The Secret, but do the documentary. And but it's very good, and it's so fascinating to me. A lot of the people who are in it, today are really kind of mainstream famous. So before you start getting into visioning, I'd recommend that you watch the documentary. And we talked last week about how our priorities and how we spend our time, that really defines who we are. That's our North Star. So anytime we go to set our vision, we have to understand that our priorities have to be in alignment with our vision. So eating a bag of Doritos at night and going to the gym in the morning are not in alignment. They're just not, right? Overindulging in liquor on a Friday night and then having a smoothie, a vegetable smoothie or something Sunday morning, it's just not in alignment, okay? Sad as that may be. And so, what we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're always aligning our priorities with our vision. And I think that's kind of a critical thing when we're visioning, okay? It's a critical thing to understand, because really without that, it's a little bit like listening to an orchestra. You know how the orchestra starts and how they're all tuning up right before they get into their sets, and you got this kind of cacophony of sound. Well, that's really what our visions are like if we don't align our priorities and our visions together. You think about it like that. Think about an out-of-tune orchestra, okay? And so that's really important that we give thought, reasonable and realistic thought when we're visioning about, okay, well, here's my goal. But to do this, here's goal, vision. We'll call those synonymous, but here it is. But how am I going to get there? Because to do that, I'm going to have to level up on these things, right? And I think that's a really important aspect of this. And so it kind of dovetails into what we were talking about last week. And our past experiences when we're visioning and when we're giving ourselves the freedom to vision, right? So part of visioning is, and I'm kind of a big believer in no limits, okay? I'm not a limit person, right? So if you can dream it, if you can vision it, you can do it. But what ends up being self-limiting for us, okay, is that it's not the unknown future in most cases. I'm not going to say always, but it's not the unknown future in most cases that holds us back in fear, okay? It's the repeating of our known past. So I'm going to just say that again. It's the repeating of our known past, colliding with our past again, okay? A past circumstance, business experience, relationship, could be anything, right? And it's those past experiences that we would like not to repeat, okay? And then we tend to just kind of navigate away from those things, but it leaves us in fear. And lightning rarely strikes twice in the same place, all right? But I think it's a powerful thought to understand, okay? It's very powerful to understand that it's really not our known. It's really not the unknown of the future. It's our known pasts that kind of paralyze us. Because I always think it's kind of fascinating. If you think about the future, okay, the unknown. Well, why would we be fearful of it? We don't know what it is. It could be absolutely amazing. And if we have the right thoughts in abundance and not scarcity, and we keep our aperture wide open, right, our field of vision, then it doesn't matter what the future is going to be because we'll figure out how to make it good. All right. So logically, it's not really the future that we fear. Okay. If you can reason that with me. Okay. It's not really the future. All right. It's not the unknown future. It's like, I had this thing before, the last time I spoke in front of a group of people. I didn't do a very good job. Man, I'm not sure if I want to do that again. Okay. And all that type of stuff, right? So think about it in terms of really, it's not the fear of the unknown, it's the fear of the known in your past. And all of our past experiences, we have them for a reason because they're giving us knowledge, okay, for how we can operate in the future. It basically builds our knowledge base. And so when we're thinking about how we're going to vision for something, like what's my vision going to be for my family, okay, or what's my vision going to be for me personally or my career, okay, we have all these experiences because they're there to build a knowledge base, and so part of what we have to do is really kind of understand, well, how have all these experiences, okay, parlayed themselves to where I am today? And it's kind of fun to be insightful about it and really sit and think about it. Now, we all do things differently. So, some of us might, sit and journal. Some of us might sit and meditate. Some of us might go for a drive or a hike. We all do it differently, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. But I thought this wheel was really helpful. So when we're trying to identify the lessons in life, right, that are giving us a knowledge base, and that knowledge base then parlays itself into our ability to extend our thinking to a vision, right, is, first of all, we have to identify, well, what are the lessons? Okay. Now the lesson could be narrow as it relates to here's a vision that I want, and really what tools do I bring with me to do this, right? And that's really what we're talking about. We're talking about the tools. So what tools do I have? So I identify the lessons learned, and then I walk with them. The second step is I walk with them, right? What are the lessons analyzed, and what really did I get out of that, and how does that really impact me today, right? And then the last one is, okay, here's what I learned, right? I've identified the lesson, I've analyzed it, right? Here's what I got out of it, okay? And here's how I react today because of it. Here's how I should react today because of it. Here's how I can parlay that into a better experience in the future. So I think those 3 steps are really interesting because it's easier for us, right? The way we're wired, it's easier for us to venture into a vision, because it's really what it is. A vision's really kind of an adventure. If we understand really how well prepared we are, because really we're all pretty well prepared, but we have to do a little bit of work to understand that. And I think the other part is to be truly honest about how things in the past and our experiences have really impacted us, and like, what have we learned, and how has that impacted me? Don't go positive or negative, neutral, okay? Middle pillar, neutral. Because things are neither good or bad until we label them. So this is simply a matter of understanding, okay, well, I had this thing, I had this experience, and here's what I learned from it. And wow, that really did prepare me for whatever it is I want to do, okay? You know, I'll just share one. This is kind of a minor one, but I'll just share it with you. For me, a few years ago, I've got a significant sports injury from years ago in my right knee, and I rotated. I was running one day. I was doing a long run, and I rotated my tibia out of the knee socket, and it was, you know, not really a lot of fun. And but that gave me the opportunity to go to PT. And I will tell you, I learned more from PT about fitness, stretching, you know, things like kinesiology tape. I mean, and so I was the weirdo that showed up at PT because I was excited about it. And like, the woman was checking me in and she's like, "Are you all right? Because like, you're pretty excited about this." I said, "Oh, I'm excited to be here. Like, what am I going to learn?" So, you know, I kind of became like the poster child for the physical therapy shop, you know, in Keene. And so, you know, all these experiences, but now like I couldn't do what I do today without having that knowledge. And so I could say that, you know, rotation of my knee certainly was painful. And I could certainly say it was bad, but in the end, really not so much. It was an amazing thing. I learned a lot. And so that's, you know, kind of smaller, may not fit into the vision category, but I think it's maybe a good illustration about how not to label things. And then, you know, for us to be really honest with ourselves about how these things have impacted us, and don't label, you know, it's not, you know, don't label things, right? And also, as we're setting our visions, is being aware of the fact that our past can influence us in lowering our visions to avoid a collision with the past, right? So we want to make sure that we're not setting artificial limits and boundaries, okay? Just because we want to avoid a collision with something that happened, you know, the repeat, right? We don't want to have a repeat accident, you know, colliding with something that happened 30 years ago or 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Don't worry about that, right? The past is a place for us to learn from. The past is not a place to live in. The past is where we learn. It's not where we live. And also, you know, we've talked a lot about stretch and panic zones when we're visioning, okay? And again, these visions are highly personal to you, so nobody can really set them but you. But when we're visioning, we have to understand that for it to be impactful, we have got to be somewhere in that stretch zone. You've got to be stretching yourself. And, you know, you don't want to panic yourself, okay? Because then that's how you become paralyzed. But we want to be stretching, okay? A vision that leaves you in your comfort zone is just another way of kind of doing what you usually do, okay? We got to get a little bit uncomfortable. We don't have to get hugely uncomfortable, but we got to get a little bit uncomfortable. And then we get into, like we were talking about last week. Okay, so I have my long-term vision, or visions, plural. What are they? Personal growth, self-care, family, friends, work, whatever means something to you, right? It could be, it could be, I want to ski deep powder in the out west, right? Whatever it is, okay, doesn't matter, right? These are your visions, these are your goals, okay? And then you list them out, and then, like we talked about last week, keep it simple. What are the steps, right? What are the steps that are going to keep me in alignment? They're going to keep me in rhythm with what my vision to be, because the vision in of itself, okay, needs to be backfilled with your priorities. And keep it simple. You make a list, 3 to 5 bullets, write them down, periodically adjust as you need to, as circumstance change, as you realize that, I've outgrown this, or I kind of need to do more of that, or I really need to study something else for me to be able to get where I'm going to go, right? Whatever the case may be, be flexible and be willing to adjust. And then we'll end today with, don't be afraid to fail, be afraid to not to try. And I think a lot of times, like in our culture, especially in a Western culture, we're very binary in our thinking. So things are either right or wrong, success or failure, black and white, Republican, Democrat, right? And all these, right? We live in a world of 2 choices, basically. But yet the world has got millions of choices. And so whatever we accept for choices, okay, that's a self-limiting belief. And so, this isn't about success and failure. This is about trying, you keep trying, and the benefit of trying is that you build your knowledge base. And every time we do something and we don't get the desired outcome that we wanted, right? We are still 100%, okay, smarter than we were before we tried it. Okay, because we have added 100% of knowledge to our knowledge base. Okay, just through the effort of trying, regardless of what the outcome is. Don't even worry about the outcome. The outcome's almost irrelevant, because the richness is always in the journey. It's never in the destination. So, but yeah, so I'm just checking the chats here to see if we have anything. But go that movie, the documentary, and it's the documentary, The Secret. I will go to that every now and then. As a matter of fact, I just went to it like a month ago, and it's good. And it's a little less campy than the book. The book can be a little campy, but this is good stuff. It's got great people in it, and I think it's a really good tune-up when we start to do our visioning. So. I'm sure you can get it on Amazon or Apple. I actually have it downloaded on my phone. So, Angela, yeah, I'm not familiar with that book, so thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, that's great. Excellent. All right, anything else here? Okay. Well, good to be with everybody. Happy Monday. Have a great week. Talk to you soon. Take care.